So we all know diversity is our strength, of course, and the United States has been very much a living reality of this. The more diverse the United States gets, the stronger it gets. I think that's how it's been going.
It's stronger than ever now, Callum.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing else that could be taking place, which Britain has as well, because as you can see, we did a premium podcast on how Britain has changed here, and it's changed quite a bit. I mean, just the video evidence alone shows you how it has changed in this premium podcast here, in which we look back at just the video footage of the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, 80s. There's something happened in the 1990s, God knows what, and things changed a lot more rapidly. Well, there's another place on Earth that's been experiencing mass migration in this regard. Mexico City. I'm pleased to bring you the news that the Mexicans are very upset.
Can I just say very quickly at the start, it's amazing how you always force me to talk about immigration every time I'm on here. Like, I'm a mainstream figure. I'm on a mainstream TV channel. I'm Prime Minister material. One day, I'll be on the debate stage going, no, I'm not obsessed with immigration. Oh, really? Explain these 900 videos. What about what's this video? See people arrive with guns. I'm like, I don't do the titles. It was Callum.
Well, when it stops being a problem, I'll stop forcing us to talk about it.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it's a fair bargain.
All right.
But just to mention, I mean, again, this has nothing to do with us. I mean, we're completely on the side of mass migration in this sense.
Yes.
It's a good thing, of course, as we're always told. And the Mexicans who are very upset about this, disgusting, populist, stupid national conservatives as they are, I can't stand them. How dare they be upset about mass migration into Mexico City? And as you can see here, some verified checkmark has written an article. Mexico City is being flooded by Americans.
Can't say flooded, can you?
Ooh, calm it down with the dehumanizing language. I mean, I know they're Yankees, but including legions of remote workers. God, legions. I mean, why don't I just call them a swarm? Been drawn bound by cheaper rents, they say. They're transforming classic neighborhoods. Sorry, I didn't mean racist neighborhoods. I mean, these old archetypal neighborhoods. The housing market and even racial dynamics. Oh, crap. Oh, no. We're going to have that conversation, are we? They're upsetting the racial dynamic of Mexico City, says the Los Angeles Times, who are only concerned in this regard with that thing going on. Anywhere else in the world, it's a good thing. In Mexico City, it's a bad thing, which I don't know how to solve that riddle. I always think it's a good thing, of course, as we are forced to. So,
yes,
as we understand. But we shall go into the article itself, because this popped up, and Miles sent me this, and it's amazing, as they write in here. I love Nuance Bro actually responds to that as well. I don't know if you know who Nuance Bro is. He's a very cool guy. He just responded, I do wonder how those living in American cities, towns along the southern border feel. Somehow I don't think you'd be so kindly feeling about their feelings, which certainly wouldn't. But anyway, let's get into the article itself. So, Californians and other Americans are flooding into Mexico City. Some locals want them to go home. Spoiler warning, we all do. No one likes Californians. However, in regards to them coming to Mexico City, I think it is, again, rather racist to say they must go home.
I'm reminded again of that Yellowstone bit when the Californians came and they had to kill them when they came to Montana.
What?
And they made them... You know, I told you last time that thing with Kevin Costner, Yellowstone, they come to Montana and these bikers and they're like messing up their farmland and acting up. And Costner goes, where are you from? They go, California. He goes, figures. Then they make them dig their own graves. Oh, it's good stuff. But yeah, like you said, no one wants Californians in their neighborhood.
I mean, literally. I mean, they're swarming all over the United States, and the people there don't like them, so people in Mexico City don't like them either. I, for one, am shocked. But they're right in here. Fernando Bustos, I'm going to butcher every Spanish name. It's a privilege for singing that armada. Was sitting with friends in a cafe here when he realized that, once again, they were outnumbered. They're being replaced, says Bustos here. We're the only brown people, he said. Why's that a problem? A 38-year-old writer and university professor. We're the only people speaking Spanish, except the waiters. Oh boy, I know the feeling. I too have visited London. You ever had that experience in London?
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
No. Mexico has long been the top foreign travel destination for Americans. I don't think it has. I think Canada has probably, but whatever. Yeah, he always said, I'm going to move to Canada, then I'm going to move to Mexico. Its bountiful beaches and picturesque pueblos luring tens of millions of US visitors annually. But in recent years, a growing number of tourists and remote workers hailing from Brooklyn, New York, Silicon Valley, and points in between have flooded the nation's capital and left a scent of new wave imperialism.
Oh, I hate that.
I
like
love it.
the old wave imperialism. I hate the new one.
Yeah, the older one was much better. Everyone knew where they stood. Whereas now we just have mass migration, and trust me, it's still your country. It's just none of your people live there.
You know what? Most of this is Tim Ferriss's fault. it's digital nomads. You know, he had the 4-hour work week. Hey, just go and live on the beach, bro. And they've all come to Mexico, and they're like, who are you people? And they're like, yeah, Ferris said it was good.
I mean, you've got it in one. They literally, the Mexicans will go on to complain about the digital nomads.
There you go.
They put up posters trying to get rid of them. But I love that. This is new wave imperialism. Fantastic. Finally, okay, this is acceptable in a left-wing newspaper, so I'm going to say it's acceptable for everyone now, because that's how the overturned window works in the West, which is, yeah, okay, in which case, London, new wave imperialism. Reading, new wave imperialism. Birmingham, I mean, we could go on a lot, and we continue to get in trouble. The influx, which has accelerated since the onset of COVID-19's pandemic, and is likely to continue as inflation rises, is transforming some of the city's most treasured neighborhoods. It's interesting how that works as well. There are neighborhoods in Mexico City that are treasured because of their heritage and their old mystique and, you know, long-running history, whereas any neighborhood in the West, not treasured, really, as replaceable as anything. Don't worry about it.
But to be fair, Callum, these are white people, and some of them are bringing Pilates. It says in the article they're bringing Pilates centers, and that is disgusting.
You have got me there. It is quite gross. They say in here, rents are soaring as Americans and other foreigners snap up the houses. Don't know how you say this. Taquiras, corner stores, and fondas, small family-run lunch spots, are being replaced by Pilates studios, co-working spaces, and sleek cafes, advertising oat milk lattes and avocado toast. Which, yeah, I do feel for the Mexicans there. That does sound like cancer. If you're trying to preserve your own culture, and instead you get some Yankees turning up. And English, well, it's everywhere. Ringing out at supermarkets, natural wine bars, and fitness classes in the park.
To be fair, it is the best language, but I can see why you're a bit frustrated. You're in your country, you can't find anyone speaking
your language.
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying. Or actually, it's a blessing of living in the West and something that's beautiful about all of our cities. I mean, such as the example, I suppose, we'll give here of a story we covered a while back in which they redid the signage in London for a few places. Could you read that for me?
Yep. It's Edgware Road.
What?
Lambeth.
No, it's Whitechapel. How did you get that wrong? I can't believe it. Yeah, for people who are listening, it's Bengali been written here on the tube station for telling you why Whitechapel station is now. Fantastic. As you say, it's not anything bad. It's wonderful that this takes place.
It does actually say it faint in the background, so I should have got it really.
Yeah, but
I'm too old to read that.
To be honest, it was a trap.
Yeah, you tricked me.
But if we go to the next one,
this whole segment is a trick. To be honest.
Just where can I make you fall in? But the next image here is this is an image that was in the Daily Mail about a street that has changed, which is a good thing. Of course, this is in London, which was about the fact that none of the Cockneys live in London anymore, which is great. I love it.
Oh, they've all gone out to Essex and stuff.
Yeah, of their own free will. I mean, it's not like they wanted to, live and die where they all were. It's not like anyone wants to do that. So that's good. That's wonderful. Back to the article, I suppose, for reasons they complain. God knows why. At Lardo, a Mediterranean restaurant where on any given night 3/4 of the tables are filled with foreigners, a Mexican man in a well-cut suit recently took a seat at the bar, gazed at the English language menu before him and sighed as he handed it back and said, "A menu in Spanish, please."
And did he say that in English or Spanish?
It doesn't say. I mean,
Probably in English, right?
I mean, if the
They wouldn't have
waitresses
understood him.
are all speaking Spanish, as said earlier, he may have said it in Spanish.
Good point.
But, I mean, there we have it. And just, again, I love it. This is new wave imperialism. Happens anywhere else, don't worry about it. It's a good thing. It's our strength. So, Mexico, enjoy the diversity. I'm sure you're loving it. Recently, expletive-laden posters have been appearing around town. Oh, I guess they're not loving it. Guess what the posters might say? Diversity is welcome.
Welcome, Americans.
Yeah.
We enjoy your Pilates and digital nomadism. Tell us more about Tim Ferriss.
Thank you, USA. You are my best friend. No. Quote, new to the city, working remotely, they read in English, you're an effing plague, and the locals effing hate you. Leave. It's a little bit different than what you might have been expecting, but there you have it. That's the posters put up by the locals. That sentiment echoed the hundreds of responses that poured in after a young American posted this seemingly innocuous tweet. Do yourself a favor and remote work in Mexico City. It's truly magical. The responses read, please don't. From one of the kinder replies. The city is becoming more and more expensive every day, in part because of people like you, and you don't even realize or care about it. And that's the kinder replies. The other thousands of comments, I'm sure we could assume, are all talking about...
To be very fair on that and be very, boringly balanced, they are paying absurd rents. in these American cities. So they are, you know,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going to go somewhere, aren't they?
Wonder how that happened.
Well, yes. I mean, but it is mental.
I mean, it's...
I'm gonna give the other side, Callum, as if we're in some sort of debate. And they used to spend money for the first 4 months of this year. They spent $851 million on hotels alone.
Yeah, it's great.
These Pilates fans.
Tourism industry. I mean, it's wonderful. But it's not about the Pilates or the fact that they spend money. It's about the numbers, isn't it? I mean, what amount of people turning up is actually acceptable
I see.
and doesn't replace everything that was there before. And again, that's just, do you actually want the original place to even exist? And, well, it only ever goes one way, doesn't it? Hugo here, 31, a video game designer who grew up in Florida and Nambia, has spent the last several months working remotely from Mexico City, Montreal, and Bogota. He says he understands why locals are vexed by the growing population of digital nomads. There you have it. I mean, just as you said, how they refer to themselves. Quote, there's a distinction between people who want to learn about the place they're in and those who just like it because it's cheap, he says. I've met a number of people who don't really care that they're in Mexico. They just care that it's cheap. And this is totally true, and an aspect that is much to be imported here. I mean, there are people who go to a place because they actually like the place, and that's the best kind of immigrant or person who comes to your country. And then there are people like, not going to say a friend, but someone who I went to halls with at university from Saudi Arabia. And I asked her, well, why'd you come? You know, what do you like about Britain? And she went, oh, I don't. Like, oh. So why are you here? She said, oh, just to get the degree. Hate this place. Hate the culture. Hate the people.
Well,
wonderful.
And to be fair, she learned that from knowing you. So, you know,
that was the first time I met her.
oh, fair enough. I was like, Callum, I've spent some time with you, and I hate this place. I've realised. Oh well, fair enough. Wasn't your fault then. But yeah, it's true. I mean, I was in Guatemala.
She was a proper Islamist, so.
Oh, okay. I can see why she didn't love it.
No.
Yeah, I was in Guatemala. Maybe I was one of these people. I was visiting Guatemala, and I did notice there's an awful lot of frat bros from America. They just go down there to just party and mess around. You know what I mean? And it is sort of a bit insulting. They don't really care about it. They're just partying somewhere cheap and warm, basically.
Yeah, and there's something about that, you know, when you go on holiday for a couple of weeks and, you know, boys on town. And that's one thing. But that's not what they're actually describing as well. It's not so much about the tourism industry. It's about the people permanently moving there for like 6 months or years because they can work remotely. Yeah. So then they end up making up a huge percentage of the native population at that point. Yeah. And obviously culturally change the place, which is a good thing. I must keep saying. They go on to write in here about some of the various differences that have happened, but I'll have to skip over it just for time. But they get to a point where they say, but there is friction beneath the surface, as more locals consider what gentrification means for the city's economics, culture, and even race relations. That's where it's going to get edgy. Over the weekend, a tenant advocacy group hosted a walking tour of places we have lost to gentrification, touristification, and forced displacement. It's by the Mexicans there, who are describing their own terms. Which, again, can't do in the West, but in Mexico, perfectly fine. And the LA Times will give them the time of day. Anyone else, not so much. Any American cities this might have happened in? Any areas that might have been lost? Rising rents through the roof because of migration? No, don't worry about it. They also say on a flyer, the Mexicans, quote, our homes now house digital nomads. I mean, I kind of like how woke on this question the Mexicans are. Like, clearly wide awake on the fact that... what's going on to them, the fact they're being effectively sold out here. I mean, the place they love is instead being taken over. Why? Well, literally digital nomads.
Basically that guy in a pink hat and sort of transparent glasses.
Yeah. I love the culture.
He's the hate figure in Mexico. He's on a poster everywhere, like, keep this guy out. And he's like, bro, I just want a latte. That's quite funny.
You know those World War II posters is like, this is a Russian, here's your friend. Yeah. It's just here, this is your enemy. Anyway, after his revelation in a cafe, they write, Bustos uploaded a video to his popular TikTok account, complaining about the influx of foreigners into Mexico City, and the fact that it, quote, stinks of modern colonialism. Nearly 2,000 people posted comments in agreement. Wonderful. His critique is multi-layered and speaks of generations of injustice. Yeah, generations of problems because of immigration. I wonder what that feels like. There's the number of newcomers, indifference as to how their actions are affecting locals, he said, but also the fact that Mexicans cannot migrate to the United States with the same ease.
Seems unfair.
I kind of hate that point, though.
Oh.
I mean, like, I get it, his perspective, which is, you know, they can just come here and abuse it being cheap here. And we can't go to the US and abuse it being expensive there. Wait. doesn't make sense. I mean, you can break in. Don't, that's not going to stop you. You could move to like, Guatemala. Would be cheaper, but don't.
I thought there was a big, beautiful wall in the way. That's what I was told.
I think it's not been finished thanks to Joe Biden. But there's also the fact that we have the same problem. Like, don't think just because we're here, like, there's somewhere we can flee to. Like, there is no England if England is destroyed. So, again, there's no other Mexico we can flee to. It's like, yeah, I know, bro. We're on your side, don't get me wrong. But he goes on to complain about the fact that the white people turning up are enforcing the city's caste system, which is a weird complaint because the caste system existing there is not... It's not the foreigners' fault, you would have thought, but whatever. Moving on. And they then go on to complain about the fact that indigenous Mexicans are more likely to be poor than lighter-skinned Mexicans and are largely underrepresented in film, television, and advertisements. And they're very upset about that, which, yeah, I know. We have the same problem. Go to the next one here. We have the BBC, a notorious far-right outlet. Poorer white pupils let down and neglected, say MPs. Yeah, this was in response to the race report, which just showed it in black and white as well.
It's not the most popular thing to say, is it? But I actually said that just the other night after my football match, because it's North London, so they were all saying, yeah, but, blah, blah, blah. They were worrying about different ethnic minorities and, being disadvantaged. I can't remember how the conversation got to, but I did say, we were talking about the Tory leadership and politics stuff, and I did end up saying, well, poor white kids are also behind in schools and universities, and if you try and give them money, like that the guy did try to give an endowment to a school, he got so much blowback, he wasn't even allowed to do that. No. So I pointed that out in North London, which you don't often hear. But
no, I mean, very brave. But it's just black and white. Like, this isn't even a debate. This isn't a conversation. The report's been done. Like, we've got the data. And if you go to the next one here, this is just the anecdotal evidence as well. I mean, I've mentioned this before. This is the government's Summer Diversity Internship Program, which has diversity requirements. You can guess what they are. You can see them there. She must meet the diversity requirements.
And I was surprised how well paid that was. Did you notice? It was actually a decent wage for an internship. You could live in Mexico City for months.
You'd be well off. However, we're back to the poor indigenous people of Mexico City, who are totally not similar to anything that's going on anywhere else in the world. But they write here, Rodwell says, who is black herself, she doesn't feel guilty about her New Age imperialism she's imposing on the Mexicans. She says, quote, I kind of feel like, as a person of color from America, I'm so economically disadvantaged that wherever I go and experience some kind of advantage or equity, I take it, she says. John.
Interesting perspective, isn't it?
But she's also assuming that everyone is a Yankee, which I hate, which, they see that I'm a black American, and therefore, no. Like, black American, white American, you all just look like Yankees to us.
Don't make much it's pretty ironic that the black American conservatives talk about Mexicans and other people like that coming in and making it harder for them because they outcompete them for wages and all that. This is the reverse of that, isn't it? Weirdly.
Yeah. And I love that this thing was published and no one at the Los Angeles Times was confused about the comparisons that might be made, presumably. Anyway, but they continue in here, saying, Izoria said he was sick of feeling like an outsider in his own city. That's very bad. I don't know why he would think such a thing. Around 60 to 70% of his clients are foreigners, he said. Quote, some people order in English and get mad when I don't understand them. That's unfair, he said. If we go to the US, we're expected to speak English.
That would be so annoying, wouldn't it, though? You're there and you're like, and they're annoyed that you're not speaking English in Mexico. The entitlement of that is off the charts. You know what I mean? Sometimes I wonder about white people, Callum. I hear things like this. I'm like, that is very entitled.
Oh, of course. I totally agree. Like, if you're going to go somewhere, make an effort. I mean, at least learn how to say, I don't speak Spanish in Spanish.
Well, don't be angry about it.
Yeah, I mean, number one.
If we believe him, which I see no particular reason not to, like, they're like, oh, can't you just speak English? Where is this? Mexico City? It says on the sign. Not that sign of the guy we hate, the other side.
Yeah, but it's very true,
Can I add the other one? Did you miss out this woman's, Sarah?
Sorry, sure.
Are you getting onto her?
I don't think I am. I'm going to end it.
Oh, okay. No, she was a 35-year-old from North Carolina who came to Mexico City last year. As soon as she got her second COVID-19 vaccine, she said she fell in love with the romantic yet gritty aesthetic. She ended up selling her video production company and relocating here with her Shih Tzu. I mean, I hate this person. I hate everything about them. I mean, if I'm Mexican,
mad, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm going like, yeah, go away. And last sentence, now she's learning Spanish. Okay, at least she's doing that. Applying for residency and exploring a new path as a life and career coach. Get out of our country. Yeah. That's what anyone would say that to that person. We don't need your life coach. We don't need your Shih Tzu. We don't need your romantic yet gritty. I say, how patronizing is that?
I mean, that's the whole experience.
Romantic yet gritty. Yeah, it's called poverty and old stuff.
But then it's also just the numbers as well. It wouldn't be, too bad. I mean, it should be annoying, obviously. But, when there's one of her, it's fine. I mean, when there's 10,000, hang on. When there's 100,000, there's nothing left, really, of the old gritty architecture when it's all been replaced instead. Can't say that. Although I just wanted to mention here, there's also obviously the Yankees turning up with their own Yankee way of doing things, which changes stuff, but that never happens anywhere else. But they'll always bring their Yankee nonsense as well, as you can see here. This is where can you guess this is? Someone that's heavily dealing with anti-black racism, presumably.
It's somewhere like Cambodia or somewhere. It's not.
No. This one's Bosnia.
Oh, Bosnia. Yeah, not Cambodia.
Very much a place of black Americans. So they put up a flag saying Black Lives Matter at the embassy, the American embassy there. Fantastic. And of course, I suppose we'll just quickly take a look back to, well, where this has infected our country as well. I love this image. You ever seen this image?
Yeah.
It's an image in London, people listening, which you have the pub there that's all boarded up and abandoned, a row of shops that are all got their shutters down, all graffitied, and then the LGBT rainbow crosswalk there for you to enjoy.
Sadly, no one will be using because it's a ghost town.
Yeah.
There's no one there.
But that's all it ends up coming down to. It's just like, right, yeah, the ideology, fantastic. I mean, you'll destroy the country, but, thank you, Californians, I suppose. And I just wanted to end on just a good point that I saw made by some people online, which, if we go to the next one here, just I saw a tweet out from the Taliban, of all people. But the point they made was weirdly, succinct to some of the other problems people have around the world. As you can see here, I just redubbed it as the academic agent, just being like, foreigners did not build our country, but destroyed it, and now we are building it.
Yeah, I saw your note on this. You said, Taliban make good point. I thought Callum's jumped the shark a bit there.
Well, I'm just saying, Californians don't have good ideas about how to run the world, that's for sure. I mean, I'm sure they've got, more liberal views than the Taliban that we'd agree with on some regards, but then they go too far with, we're going to transition 2-year-olds, which, yeah.
Callum's next video, the Taliban are good, thumbnail, hear me out.
With a gun to my head. Anyway, but there you have it. It's just something I wanted to look at and have a laugh about, which is the fact that, well, all of a sudden people are starting to notice that when the Americans mass migrate somewhere, it kind of changes the place, and that's kind of bad and imperialistic. But when the reverse happens anywhere in the world, whoa, calm down. Nothing's happening. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series, this one on the Anglo-Japanese timeline. And if you want to find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.